So we've got some tools to review today, this time from Benchtog tools, which are made in England, quite precision made tools, a bit similar to maybe the kind of quality of the woodpecker tools that I reviewed previously. So this time we've got some items for the Festool MFT table, which I've had for a long time. This does look very clean and shiny, but it's just a new surface, new bit of MDF that I got. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is some caps or plugs for this tabletop. So don't often use these holes all the time, certainly not all of them. So I don't think anyone else makes these, which is some plugs for this tabletop. So it's basically a cap which goes in this hole and sits just below the surface. Now to do that, because obviously this is sitting proud by a mil or two, you can see it's got an ever so slight lip on it. So the question is, I know you're thinking, how are we going to fit this in here? So they also sell a tool that basically, first thing it does, this is made perfectly the same diameter of this. So if you've got any bits of glue in here, it also can clean it out for you. But most importantly, as you can see in here, it's got a blade on it, which is going to put a chamfer on these holes. So I'll drill a couple of these now. So if you just zoom in on here, you can see on that hole, it's a nice little chamfer. So now I can pop this cap in and it sits just below the surface. And also, if I unscrew this, also this end has a magnet. So when you want to take it out, rather than doing it from beneath every time, you can just pop it out of the magnet and then put your clamp in, or little Benchdogs. These are some ones I got from Festool. So there we go. So I've got about 50 of these, mostly, this will cover most of the table. So that's the first thing, very well made. Okay, so next up we've got some slide stop clamps. So these are kind of a regular sized dog that will go into the hole, but it's got a couple of seals on it, which once you tighten it, this squishes down and compresses out, and basically compresses in that hole to seal it. So I'll give you an example of where you might use this. So let's put some regular Benchdogs in. So that's up against that. Now you can't always get, so actually here, well, it looks very close. You can't actually, if you wanted to sandwich this in to get it nice and tight, you can't actually fit this into here, so it rattles. So with this, I can put it into this hole. Put one up here. Now you can see this slides in and out, so we can slide that nice and tight. Do the other one here. And those seals, this is super tight now. I literally can't even pull this out the table. That's how tight it is. And now this is nicely, there's no wobble in that. It is nicely clamped in. Now you can obviously slide it, but if you're going that way, absolutely nothing. So very useful. You can imagine these can go obviously at any angle depending on what I'm doing on the table. So they come in a pack of two. Very helpful. So next we've got some Benchtop Protectors. You can tell I'm covering all my bases here with what I can do in this table. So this one has a kind of foam neoprene seal on top of it. You can just see on here a little black pad. It's basically an anti-slip pad. So this is actually very handy for if you don't want to clamp something, maybe if you want to sand something and you just want it lifted off the surface. So if I put 4 in, so got a little flat piece of MDF here. That's obviously moving. Put it on top of here, and that is remarkably solid. So in this scenario, I might be sanding it. I might want to get to the edge of it, which is nice that it's lifted off. Don't need to bother clamping it, and that gives ample pressure. Obviously, if you're doing something critical like drilling or doubling into it, you'd probably want to use a clamp. But something like this, if I'm just sanding some bits, it gives a really nice seal. So definitely recommend those, very handy. Next up, we've got a few big Benchtog tools, which nicely come with wall hanging racks, which you can see here. We have got quite an impressive tool here from Benchtog. So this is their 600mm stainless steel precision square, and it is, I have to say, a thing of beauty. So I've previously got woodpecker squares. You can see here's a woodpecker one. This one is 300mm, quite similar in concept. I was after a 600mm one, but that's obviously quite hard to bring back from the US. So this is actually how I actually discovered Benchtog tools and decided to give their 600mm one a go. These are made in England, and the quality is extremely high. I've checked it against the other precision squares that I've got, and it is absolutely bob on. They also sell it in different sizes, similar to the woodpecker one. And similar to the woodpeckers one, it also has, if you look in here, it also got the increments in here to put your pencil in, 1mm increments. So, for example, if I lay this on the table with my pencil, so I'll pick a dot at random and nestle my penciling nicely in, and we've got a perfectly square line. So this is going to be great for laying out bigger sheets of material. It's also good, so if I'm assembling a cabinet, I can use this as a square to check everything is square before clamping it and gluing it, screwing it. So the other feature that this square has got is it's got holes every 32mm, which is the universal standard for doing things like shelf holes or drawer runners. So you can pick and choose how many you want. So if you've got a side in a wall cabinet and you want to do adjustable shelves, then you've got these nice little increments there. And they also sell a special drill bit, perfectly suited for this. So that's another good feature of this square. So next up, we've got the Benchtog Tools straight edges. So I've got two here. I've got a 960mm one and a 640mm one. Basically, it's not a ruler, but it is a perfectly manufactured straight edge, which you can use for a variety of reasons. The reason I got the long one is for things like calibrating my miter saw setup. So if you look here, I can put this straight edge up against the fence on the miter saw and make sure that my extended fence here is also in plane with it. And now I had set this up originally, but it's locked down in the thumb screw so that you can move it out of the way if you need to use this surface. Now obviously you can bash this over time and it can move, so you can actually see it's slightly out. So I can use this basically to undo these thumb screws and move this up. Tighten that back down again, and there we go. Now I've got perfectly square calibrated extended fence again. So that's a great use for that. So that's the bigger one, which I'll probably use mainly for doing this. Finish tighten that. And then the other one is the slightly smaller one, which I will probably use for things like the router table setup. So if you just look over here, for example, I can use it to line up my router fence. So if I want to line up each side of the fence to make sure that's in plane, I can do that. Or when I want to make sure that the ball bearing of the router is in line once the router cutter is obviously raised up. So we can use this to check that the fence is all lined up with the bearing on the router cutter. Hopefully you enjoyed that tool review from all the things that I got from Benchdogs. It's not a sponsored video, but friends at Benchdogs have given us a discount code to use. So if you're interested in any of these, look in the description below. We'll put all the links and let us know how you get on if you buy any of them or if you already have any of these tools.